In the distant corner of the universe, there was a planet named Orion, a place full of mountains, deep oceans, shining forests, and endless deserts. Orion looked peaceful from above, glowing blue and gold under the soft light of its sun. But inside the planet, something strange was happening. The rivers were drying slowly, the winds were becoming sharp and angry, and the forests shivered with fear, even without breeze. The planet was alive, but its heartbeat was getting weaker each day. The people who lived on Orion belonged to 5 great nations, those of stone, water, wind, fire, and light. These nations lived far apart, each believing their own element was the strongest. Because of pride and fear, none of them trusted each other. Sometimes, small battles happened near the borders. Sometimes, people went missing in strange storms. And sometimes, the ground trembled like the planet itself was crying. No one understood that Orion was slowly dying. No one except a girl from the nation of light named Alara. She was young, with bright silver eyes and long white hair that glowed softly when she stood in the sun. She lived near the edge of the crystal sea and spent her days listening to the quiet waves. But Alara had a strange gift. She could hear the whispers of the planet's soft sounds that no one else noticed. One night, when the moon was low and the stars looked dim, Alara heard the planet speak clearer than ever. It said, "Help me. My life is fading. Something is coming." She woke up shaking. She ran outside and placed her hands on the ground. The soil felt colder than normal. The light in her hair dimmed. "What is happening to you?" she whispered. The planet replied in a trembling voice, "A shadow from the void. A devourer. It drains my life. If my people do not stand as one, I will fall." Alara had heard stories about the devourers, ancient creatures that floated through space like living storms. They fed on planets, drinking their energy until nothing remained but dust. No nation alone could fight such a monster, only all nations together, but they were divided. They did not trust each other. They did not even speak peacefully. Alara stood up. Her heart beat fast, but her voice was steady. "I will save you, Orion," she said softly, "even if I must travel to every nation myself." She packed only a small bag, filled with light crystals and food, and began her journey before sunrise. She did not know where to go first. She only followed the whispers of the planet. Soon, she reached the border of the Stone Nation. The mountains were tall and dark, with sharp cliffs and cold winds. The people of stone were strong, serious, and suspicious of outsiders. As Alara climbed the rocky path, the ground shook. A deep voice boomed from above, "Who climbs the path of the stone warriors?" She looked up and saw a tall figure made of dark rock, with glowing orange lines across his body like molten lava. It was Kale, protector of the Stone Nation. He stared at her with heavy stone eyes. "Child of light," he growled, "you do not belong here. Go back." Alara stood firm, her silver eyes glowing gently. "I bring a message for all nations," she said. "Orion is in danger. We must unite." Kale laughed, the sound like boulders crashing together. "Unite? With fire? With wind? Impossible." "If we do not," Alara said calmly, "the planet will die, and so will we." Kale's expression changed for the first time. He stepped closer, lowering his gigantic stone head. "You speak boldly, but even if I believe you, the other nations will not." Alara nodded. "That is why I need your help." Kale looked at her for a long moment. Then he placed a heavy stone hand on the ground. The mountain answered with a deep rumble. "The planet suffers," Kale said softly. "I can feel it." He looked back at Alara with new respect. "I will join you, but this path will be difficult." Alara smiled gently. "The planet needs all of us." Together, the girl of light and the warrior of stone began a journey that would lead them across oceans, deserts, and skies, searching for unity in a world that had forgotten it. Above them, hidden in the blackness of space, the devourer opened its endless mouth and drew closer each day. Alara and Kale walked side by side along the edge of the Stone Nation as the sun rose higher in the pale sky, their shadows stretching long over the rough ground. The air was cold near the mountains, and every time Kale took a step, the earth shook just a little under his heavy stone feet. But he tried to walk softer so he would not frighten the world around him. Alara looked small next to him, her light clothes moving gently in the wind, her silver eyes always watching the sky and the land, listening to the quiet whispers of the planet. "Where do we go now?" Kale asked in his deep, rumbling voice. Alara closed her eyes for a moment and placed her hand on the ground. She felt a faint pull, like a soft hand tugging at her heart from far away. "To the Water Nation first," she said. "The rivers are crying. If they fall silent, the planet will weaken faster." Kale nodded and turned his gaze toward the distant horizon where a thin line of blue shimmered under the light. They walked for many hours, leaving the cold mountains and stepping into gentler lands where the ground was softer and small plants still tried to grow. As they walked, Alara told Kale how the people of light lived near crystal seas and shining towers, using light to heal and guide. Kale told her how the people of stone carved cities inside mountains and believed in strength and silence. "We were taught that the others were weak," Kale said, looking down at his hands, "that only stone knew how to stand firm." Alara smiled sadly. "We were taught that stone was proud and unkind," she answered. "Maybe we were all wrong." By the time the sun began to fall lower, the air became cooler and more humid. They could hear the distant sound of waves. Soon, they reached a wide cliff that looked over an endless body of water. The ocean of the water nation spread out before them, but it did not look as it should. The waves were slow and tired. The water was darker than usual, and strange black lines twisted under the surface like veins of ink. "It is worse than I thought," Elara whispered, her heart aching. At the base of the cliff, there was a city built on gentle stone platforms that floated on the sea, connected by shining bridges. The people of water moved gracefully, their clothes flowing like waves, their hair long and free. But now their faces were full of worry, and many of them stared at the water as if waiting for something bad to happen. Elara and Kale climbed down carefully along a carved path until they reached the edge of the floating city. As soon as they stepped onto the first platform, spears of water rose around them, forming sharp points. A group of water guardians appeared, their eyes hard, their hands glowing with blue power. "State your purpose," one of them said coldly. "Why does stone walk upon our waters, and why does light stand at his side?" Kale raised his hands slowly in peace, the orange lines on his stone body glowing softly. Elara stepped forward, her voice calm but strong. "We come with a warning," she said. "The planet Arion is in danger. A devourer from the void is coming. It drains the life from our world. Already your ocean is suffering." The guardians looked at each other, some doubtful, some afraid. Then the water spears lowered just a little, and an older woman stepped forward. She wore robes of deep blue, and her eyes were the color of the sea at dawn. "I am Nida," she said, "speaker for the water nation. We have felt the tired pulse of the ocean. We have seen storms that do not belong, and tides that refuse to follow the moon. But why should we believe that stone and light bring the truth, and not some trick?" Before Elara could answer, a sudden wave rose behind the city, tall and wild, without any wind to cause it. It crashed against the platforms, shaking them strongly and soaking everyone. The water felt heavy and cold, and for a moment, a faint dark face seemed to appear in the wave, smiling cruelly before it vanished. Naida's eyes widened, and the people around her gasped in fear. Elara turned toward the sea and placed both her hands on the wet ground. "Orion," she whispered softly, "show them what you showed me." A gentle light spread from her fingertips into the water, and for a moment, the sea became clear like glass. Under the surface, everyone could see twisted black roots stretching deep into the planet's heart, slowly drinking its life. They also saw, far out in space above, the shadow of a huge, swirling storm, the devouring closer. Then the vision faded, and the water returned to its dark color. The people of water fell silent. Nada knelt beside the edge of the platform and touched the sea with shaking fingers. "You speak the truth," she said gently. "Our beloved ocean is being stolen from inside." Kale stepped forward. "We cannot fight this alone," he said. "Stone is strong, but strength is nothing without others. Light sees what we do not. Water feels what we ignore. Wind and fire must also stand with us. The planet will only survive if we fight as one." Nada looked up at him, then at Elara, then at the restless waves. Slow determination grew in her eyes. "The water nation will join this fight," she said. "I will come with you as our voice and our power." Elara smiled with relief, and the planet's whisper in her mind grew a little warmer, a little stronger, as if Orion had just taken a deeper breath. Now three walked together, light, stone, and water. They did not stay long in the ocean city, for time was short. Before they left, Nada raised her hands and calmed the waves around them, promising the sea that she would return when the danger was gone. As they moved inland again, the air began to change. It grew lighter, full of fast-dancing winds that lifted their hair and clothes. High above, floating in the sky on drifting islands of rock and cloud, was the home of the Wind Nation. Their cities were built from white stone and light wood, hanging in the air, connected by rope bridges and woven air paths only they could walk. "How will we reach them?" Kale asked, frowning at the sky. "My feet were not made to leave the ground." Nada smiled gently. "Sometimes, stone must trust the unseen," she said. She stepped forward and raised her arms. Water rose from a nearby stream, twisting into the air. Elara lifted her hands as well, turning the water into shining steps with her light. The wind, as if curious, wrapped itself around the watery path, holding it in place. "Orion is helping us," Elara said softly. "The planet wants its children to meet." Slowly, they climbed the glowing steps into the sky. The higher they went, the thinner the air became and the stronger the winds grew, but none of them fell. The wind held them, testing them, but also carrying them. At last, they reached one of the floating islands. A group of wind guardians stood waiting, their clothes loose and flowing like clouds, their hair moving in all directions even when they stood still. One of them, a young man with bright green eyes and a playful smile, stepped forward. "Visitors from below," he said lightly. "Light, stone, and water, walking on air. That is something I do not see every day." "We bring warning," Elara said again, her voice patient. She told them about the devourer, about the vision in the ocean, about the dying rivers and trembling ground. The wind around them grew still. Listening, the young man's smile faded. He looked up at the sky, where strange dark swirls had started to appear in the clouds. "We have felt strange storms," he admitted. "Winds that do not obey us. Air that turns heavy and cruel." From behind him, An older wind leader, her hair silver like mist, floated forward. I am Aaron, she said. We have always believed we could rise above the troubles of the ground, but if the planet dies, even the sky will fall. Kale crossed his arms. We were all foolish, he said simply, but we can still choose to be wise. Aaron looked at each of them and turned Alara's gentle light. Kale's solid strength, Nada's calm, flowing power. Then she nodded slowly. The Wind Nation will not stay apart, she said. I will send one of our strongest with you. The young man with green eyes stepped closer, his feet barely touching the floating ground. My name is Zeph, he said with a grin returning. I will join you. The sky will not be silent while our home is in danger. And so the small group grew again. Now light, stone, water, and wind walked together or floated. In Zeph's case, as they looked toward the distant red glow on the horizon, where the Fire Nation's lands burned like a low sun waiting to rise. Above them, in the empty cold of space, the Devourer turned its dark eye fully toward Arian and began to move faster. The journey toward the Fire Nation was long and difficult, as Elada, Kale, Nida, and Zeph moved across the wide plains. The air grew warmer, and the light in the sky shifted from soft gold to deep red. Zeph floated above them, guiding air currents to keep the heat from overwhelming the group, while Nada used small waves of cool mist to protect Alara and Kale from the burning wind. But even with their help, the land felt harsh. The grass became dry and brittle. Cracks spread across the ground in long, painful lines. The earth's whispers in Elara's mind were faint and strained, like someone speaking through smoke. Arian is burning, she said quietly. Kale touched the soil carefully with one heavy stone hand. Even he flinched. It feels angry, he muttered, not at us, but at something approaching from deep below. Zeph floated lower, looking uneasy. The winds here are wrong, he said, hot and fast, like they're running from something. Nada nodded. The sea told me fire was growing wild. I hoped it was only rumor. It was not. Ahead of them, the horizon glowed brighter, as if the sun itself had fallen onto the land. The Fire Nation stretched before them, huge black mountains flowing with rivers of lava, tall towers made of obsidian, and great bridges built from cooled stone. Flames burst from cracks in the earth like angry breaths. In the middle of all this wildness lived the fireborn people whose bodies glowed with red and orange, whose breath carried heat, and whose tempers were as sharp as their blazing blades. As the group approached the border, a ring of flames rose suddenly around them, tall and bright. A circle of fire guardians stepped forward, their eyes glowing red like molten iron. Who enters the lands of flame? One of them demanded, voice crackling like burning wood. Kale stepped in front, crossing his massive arms. We come with a warning, he said. But the guardian's flames grew hotter. Stone speaks lies, one hissed. Wind plays tricks. Water brings weakness. Another snapped, and light tries to rule us all. Before the flames could close in tighter, Elara raised both hands. A soft white glow expanded around the group, calming the fire just enough to stop it from touching them. Please listen, she said. The planet is dying. A devourer is coming. We must stand together, or we will all fall. The guardians narrowed their fiery eyes. Then someone stepped through the flames, a tall figure with long black hand-red armor, hair like flowing fire, and eyes burning with fierce intelligence. He carried a sword made of living flame that shifted like a living creature. Enough, he said. The guardians immediately lowered their flames and bowed slightly. The fireman studied Elara and the others carefully. I am Ignis, he said, war leader of the Fire Nation. Elara met his burning gaze without fear. We ask for your help, she said calmly. The planet you stand upon is suffering. Ignis walked closer, flames swirling around his feet with every step. You ask fire to trust water, to fight beside wind, to stand with stone. Kale stepped forward, heat glowing orange on his rocky chest. Yes, he said simply, because the world will end if we do not. Ignis raised one hand. The flames around them trembled but didn't strike. I have seen visions in the fire, he said slowly. Storms of darkness swallowing stars, planets turning to ash. I thought they were omens of our future, but perhaps they were warnings. Nada stepped forward. Your flames are weakening, she said quietly. Your lava flows are too thin. Even the hottest fire cannot live without the planet's breath beneath it. Ignis looked at her sharply, then kneeled and placed his hand on the burning ground. His flames dimmed, his face changed. The fire, it flickers, he whispered, as if something is drinking its life. Elara nodded. The devourer drains not only oceans and forests, it drinks the core heat too. It steals what makes fire alive. Ignis stood, shoulders heavy for the first time. If this devourer comes, it will find fire ready to fight. Zeph floated forward with a small smirk. So you're joining us? Ignis lifted his flaming sword. Fire bows to no one, he said, but fire will stand with those who fight for our Eon. As he spoke, flames around him rose like wings. But suddenly, the flames twisted unnaturally. For a moment, they turned dark black fire, silent and cold. Ignis gasped, dropping to one knee. What? What is this? The group stepped back as the black fire spread across the ground like ink. The planet screamed in Elara's mind. It is here. It is reaching. I am breaking. A dark shadow rose from a crack nearby. small but terrifying, a fragment of the Devourer's power, reaching deep into the Firelands. It swirled like a storm, sucking heat and light into itself. Flames bent toward it. Lava pulled upward, unnaturally, disappearing into the black hole. The Fire Guardians panicked, shouting and raising flames that only fed the creature more. Alara stepped forward and threw a sphere of pure light at the shadow, but it only dimmed for a moment. Neda sent a wave of water that evaporated instantly. Zeph tried to push wind into it, but the wind only made it grow. Kale slammed both hands into the ground, cracking it open beneath the creature. But the Devourer fragment floated above the break, untouched. Ignis gritted his teeth. "It wants our heat," he growled. "Then let it taste fire's fury." His entire body ignited in bright gold flames, not red, not orange, but the color of the sun, and he charged. For a moment everyone saw why the Fire Nation respected him. Even the shadow recoiled. Ignis plunged his burning sword into the center of the black flame. A shockwave burst outward, shaking the mountains, rippling the lava like water, and pushing the Devourer fragment back into the earth. The black fire vanished. Ignis fell to one knee again, breathing hard, his flames dim but alive. Alara rushed to him. "Are you hurt?" He shook his head. "No, but now I understand. The Devourer is stronger than any one of us." Kale's voice rumbled. "That is why we stand together." Ignis looked at each of them, the Girl of Light, the Warrior of Stone, the Lady of Water, the Playful Child of Wind. His flames rose in agreement. "Very well," he said. "The Fire Nation will fight." And so the team was complete: light, stone, water, wind, and now fire. As they stood together at the edge of the burning cliffs, the ground trembled beneath them. The sky darkened overhead. Alara looked upward, her heart sinking. The Devourer had arrived in Arian's orbit. The final battle was coming. The 5 travelers, Alara of Light, Kale of Stone, Neda of Water, Zeph of Wind, and Ignis of Fire, moved together, away from the burning lands. Behind them, the sky glowed red and black, the heat rising like a warning from the heart of the world. Above them, the Devourer, now fully visible in Arian's orbit, hung in the sky like a monstrous storm, shaped like a spiraling eye. Its shadow fell across the land, turning daylight into dim twilight. The closer it came, the more the planet trembled. Every few minutes the ground shivered, winds twisted unnaturally, oceans moved in sudden waves, and distant volcanoes sent thin streams of smoke into the air. The group reached a wide plain where the land cracked into giant broken plates. Here, the ground felt like dry skin stretched too thin, shaking beneath their feet. Alara placed her hand on the ground and inhaled sharply. "Arian," she whispered, "it's hurting?" "More than before." Nida kneeled beside her and touched the cracked earth. Her calm face tightened with worry. "The core waters are draining. The ocean's heartbeat is fading." Zeph hovered close to the ground, trying to feel the air patterns. "The winds are confused. They don't know where to flow." Kale placed both hands on the earth and closed his glowing orange eyes. "Stone is collapsing. The mountains fear what is coming." Ignis looked up at the Devourer's swirling eye in the sky, flames flickering weakly across his armor. "Fire feels its hunger," he said. "It drinks heat from the core. It wants to consume everything." Alara stood. There was fear in her eyes, but there was also a strange calm. "It is time," she said. "We must go to the heart of Orion, the ancient center where all 5 nations once met. Only there can we awaken the planet's true power." The group traveled sometimes running as the ground shook violently, sometimes climbing over broken cliffs that had not existed the day before. The world was changing rapidly. They passed a forest whose trees leaned toward them like frightened children, their leaves trembling even without wind. They crossed a river that seemed to pulse like a weak heartbeat, water flowing in sudden sharp jerks. Every sound, every wave, every breeze, every crack in the stone felt like the planet crying out louder and louder. At last, after many exhausting hours, they reached a massive crater in the center of the land. Inside the crater stood a giant temple, built from 5 elements, glowing crystal from light, solid rock from stone, flowing water channels from water, floating platforms powered by wind, and burning torches of eternal fire. Alara stepped forward slowly, awe in her eyes. "This is the heart of Arian, built centuries ago when the nations still trusted each other." Zeph floated around one of the ancient pillars. "If only they had stayed united," he said softly. Kale touched a huge stone arch, brushing away dust. "Perhaps now we can fix what was broken." Neda moved to the water channels, which were nearly dry. "We must act quickly," she said. "The planet does not have much time." Ignis looked at Alara. "What do we do?" Alara closed her eyes and placed her hand on the center platform, a round stone embroidered with ancient symbols. Light spread from her palm, awakening the ancient carvings. The ground rumbled, and 5 paths of energy extended outward: white, red, blue, green, and gold. "We must give our power to Orion," Alara said. "We must show it that its nations stand as one again." Alara stepped onto the white path of light. The crystal beneath her feet glowed brighter than it had in centuries. "I give my vision," she whispered, "my courage, my belief in unity." Kale stepped onto the red path of stone. The ground shook gently under him. "I give my strength," he said, "my promise to protect." Neda moved on to the blue path of water, and the dry channels began to fill with glowing liquid. "I give my calm, she whispered. My flow, my healing. Zeph hovered above the green path of wind, and the air began to swirl gently. I give my freedom, he said, my breath of life. Ignis stepped onto the gold path of fire, lowering his burning sword beside him. I give my flame, he said, my passion, my fight. As each of them gave their power, the temple grew brighter. Ancient pillars cracked open to reveal glowing cores. The ground beneath the crater lit up with a giant symbol of the planet. The 5 paths connected at the center where Ilara placed both hands on the heartstone. Arian, she said softly but firmly, your children stand as one. Wake up, rise, fight. For a moment, there was silence. The air grew still, even the distant shaking stopped. Then, boom, a massive pulse of energy exploded outward. Waves of light rolled across the land, across the oceans, through the mountains, into the sky. The ground stabilized, trees straightened, rivers flowed faster, winds calmed, fire burned brighter, and deep beneath the planet's surface, the core glowed brighter than it had in centuries. Orion was waking up, but the Devourer felt the surge. In the sky, the massive storm-like creature shifted violently. The spiraling eye flashed with anger. Darkness thickened around it, swirling faster and faster. A huge beam of dark energy shot from the center of the Devourer down to the planet. It struck the heart temple like a hammer. The entire crater shook. Massive stones fell from above. The ground split open. Ilara stumbled, but held onto the heartstone. Stay together, she shouted. Neda sent water shields around them. Zeph created wind barriers. Kale lifted stone walls, and Ignis surrounded the group with flames. But the Devourer's attacks grew stronger, tearing through the air with booming blasts that echoed like thunder across the world. The sky turned black. The earth shook violently. The oceans roared. It felt like the end. It knows we awakened the planet, Zeph shouted over the roar. It's trying to stop us. We cannot stop now, Ilara said, her voice steady even as the ground trembled. If we break apart now, everything ends. She reached toward the sky, lifting her hand. Arian, please help us. And for the first time, the planet answered clearly. The ground beneath the temple glowed with brilliant golden light. The energy flowed upward, surrounding the group in a giant sphere of 5 colors: white, red, blue, green, and gold. The Devourer in the sky recoiled. Its eye narrowed. It knew the planet was fighting back. The final battle was coming, but this time, Orion would not face it alone. The sky above Arion had turned completely dark. The Devourer hung in the atmosphere like a giant storm made of shadows, lightning swirling around its spiraling body. Its enormous central eye glowed with a cold, hungry light. The entire world seemed to tremble under its presence. Mountains shook, oceans churned, and forests bent as if bowing before an ancient monster of the void. But at the heart temple, 5 figures stood tall: Elata, Kael Nida, and Ignis, aronized by the planet's awakened power. The sphere of glowing energy around them pulsed brighter, pushing back the darkness that tried to swallow the land. Orion was alive now, awake, fighting, and it depended on its children to finish what had begun. Ilara looked at the others, her silver eyes glowing like stars. This is it, she said softly. The Devourer will not stop. We must carry our combined strength into the sky and strike at its core. Kale placed his massive stone hand on the ground. The planet will carry us. I can feel its will. Neda lifted both hands as water rose from deep channels below the temple, swirling in beautiful spirals around them. Orion trusts us, she whispered. Zeph grinned, but there was seriousness in his bright green eyes. Then, let's fly higher than fear. Ignis's flames burned bright gold, even against the darkness. Fire does not run, he said. Fire rises. With all 5 standing at the heartstone, the temple responded. The ground beneath them shook, then lifted, then rose upward slowly at first, then faster until the entire group was carried into the sky on a massive pillar of shining energy. They ascended through the clouds, through the storm winds, until their world lay beneath them like the Devourer was massive, bigger than any mountain, bigger than any storm. Its swirling body stretched across the sky like a tornado made of shadow. Pieces of meteor-sized debris spun around it, caught in its gravitational pull. Its central eye opened wider, staring directly at the 5 heroes standing on the platform of light. A deep, echoing voice rolled across the sky. You cannot stop the void. All worlds fall. All life ends. Orion will be dust. Ilara stepped forward, her light growing brighter. Not while we still breathe. The Devourer laughed, a horrible sound like collapsing mountains. Then it unleashed its first attack, a beam of darkness that shot toward them faster than lightning. Kale slammed both hands into the platform, raising a massive shield of stone powered by the planet itself. The impact shook the sky, cracks forming in the stone, but it held. Ignis leaped forward, swinging his golden flame sword, slicing through the darkness. Fire exploded across the sky like a small sun. Zeph summoned a hurricane of wind that twisted around the Devourer's tendrils, ripping pieces of shadow away. Neda sent massive waves of water spiraling upward, cooling the dark flames the creature spat down. Ilara concentrated all the light she had into one beam that shot straight into the Devourer's swirling body. but the devourer was ancient and powerful. It absorbed some of their attacks, roaring in anger, and struck back harder. A giant tendril of shadow whipped across the sky, smashing into the platform of light and sending everyone flying. Ilara caught Zeph with a burst of wind. Nada caught Kale by turning water into a soft cushion. Ignis hit a broken piece of floating stone and slid down, leaving trails of gold flames. The devourer's voice shook the air again. You are small. You are weak. The void devours everything. Ilara stood up slowly, raising her hands. No, she said firmly. Not everything. Not unity. The devourer drew energy from the world below, trying to drain Arian once more. But the planet resisted. The ground glowed, oceans shook, winds roared, fires flared. Orion sent its strength upward through the pillar of energy. Ilara felt it, so did the others. A new power filled them warm, ancient, and alive. Orion is giving us its heart, Ilara whispered. We must join our powers again. Each of them stepped onto an invisible path in the skylight, stone, water, wind, and fire glowing beneath their feet. Ilara extended her hand toward the others. Together, she said. Kale placed his stone hand over hers. Together, he agreed. Nida joined them, her touch cool but strong. Together, Zeph landed lightly on Kale's arm, placing his hand on theirs. Together, Ignis's burning hand completed the circle. One flame, he said. One fight. The moment their hands connected, the sky exploded with color. White light burst from Ilara, red from Kale, blue from Naida, green from Zeph, gold from Ignis. The 5 elements spiraled upward, twisting around each other, merging into a single massive beam of pure planetary energy. It shot straight into the devourer. The creature screamed, shadows tearing apart from its body. Black cracks spread across its spiraling form. It tried to fight back, sending tendrils and blasts of void energy, but the combined force of the 5 nations was stronger. Orion fights with us, Ilara shouted. We fight as one. The beam glowed brighter, so bright it turned the sky white. Then boom, the devourer's core exploded in a burst of golden and black fragments, scattering across space like dust. The darkness vanished. The sky cleared. Light returned. The void was defeated. The platform lowered back to the planet slowly, as though the world itself carried its heroes home. When they finally touched the ground, sunlight warmed their faces, the forests whispered again, rivers sparkled. The air was fresh. The fire in the mountains burned with gentle heat. Orion was healing, and every nation stone, water, wind, fire, and light people felt the change. They came out of homes, temples, towers, and caves, looking up and seeing a sky free of shadows. Peace washed over the land like a soft blanket. Soon, crowds gathered in the central plains. People from all nations stood together for the first time in centuries. Ilara and the heroes stood before them. A child from the Fire Nation pointed and said, They saved us. A stone elder bowed deeply. Water healers cried with relief. Wind dancers filled the air with music. Light guardians shone streams of brightness into the sky. Kale raised his massive hand and spoke in his deep voice. Orion lives because we stood as one. Nada stepped forward, her calm voice carrying across the crowd. Let us never forget the cost of our silence. Zeph spun in the air, laughing. Let the sky always be shared. Ignis lifted his sword, flames rising around him. Let our fires burn together. Finally, Ilara looked at the entire world gathered before her. Her silver eyes glowed softly. For the first time in history, she said, the planet fought as one, and this unity must never be broken again. All across Arion, people raised their hands, stone fists, water palms, fire sparks, wind swirls, and light beams joining them toward the sky. And the planet answered with a gentle pulse that traveled through ground, sea, and sky. A promise of peace, a promise of strength, a promise of unity. From that day, Arion was no longer just a world. It was a family, a planet that fought together, a planet that survived together, a planet that fought as one.